I want Spence because he's, I don't know, got a bit of bad blood. That's what I want.
What'd you think?
Hey, I'm glad he won, man. It's all good. Now I gotta go take his stuff. So it's great.
You know, Errol hasn't been busy. He's sort of needs a comeback fight himself. Tim needs a little bit of a comeback himself. He just had a small win over Velasquez. He's going to keep trying to work his way back in. So you look at the fight on paper and you think, this is a sellable, marketable fight. And, you know, between two guys who need to work their way back in. And, you know, the winner is two big names. So the winner obviously creates a real drawing power to himself again and works their way probably into a title fight.
According to Ring Magazine, Mike Coppinger, Errol Spence is going to be back on sometime this summer, and he plans to try to treat Tim Tszyu like a tune-up. Tim Tszyu is going to have a tune-up fight to get ready for Errol Spence, and they're supposed to get it cracking, and I think this is a perfect opponent.
Manny Pacquiao also called out McGregor for a White House showdown, aiming to test him and connect with Khabib. With each new contender, the card is shaping into a high-stakes, unpredictable spectacle fans can't ignore.
Makes a comeback, and he's a Texas rep. I'm getting to the point where I feel like he's not going to make a comeback. I respect all fighters, as y'all know, and if you don't know, I'm sure people know that I'm friends with Terence, and I'm because I know people expect to see Bud on here way more than they do. Bud comes to town, and you know he's training here and stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want to use my friendship with him to, you know, get him on the show and stuff like that. I'll pick my moments and I'll pick my time. So saying that to say, I saw Spence at a wedding just a couple of months ago. Shout out to Tommy, been married now for a couple of months. And Errol happened to be the best man at the wedding. We talked for a minute, but I didn't ask him any questions about boxing. He looked good. Looked like he's, you know, carrying the weight pretty well wherever he's at. And I know in the past we've seen him, you know, balloon up. We've seen him be a little, you know, chubby, thick, whatever the case may be, as we all do at some points in the neck and that face area. You know, you guys know how I go. I didn't see that when I saw him at the wedding. So I'm like, okay. And then we were hearing the rumblings of a Fundora. When I think fighters get to a point where they want this, but they haven't been performing there. And I think that might be the case with Errol Spence Jr. Certainly was the case in my opinion, with Keith Thurman and also with Danny Garcia. I feel, even though they did battle injuries, I felt another big part of that was they wanted big pay against lower opponent. They didn't want to come back and get big pay against a big opponent. It's a part of the game, and I got a feeling that that's what...
This announcement is creating anxiety because people still remember Errol Spence Jr.'s last fight. In July 2023, Terence Crawford didn't just defeat him, he completely dominated him. It wasn't only about losing his titles. Spence also lost his aura of invincibility. He absorbed such heavy punishment that many fans felt it was the kind of beating that can change a fighter both physically and mentally. That's why, whenever his name comes up again, there's natural concern about whether he can truly return to his old form or not.
Are you willing to do this rematch back at welterweight?
It's something I got to talk to my management about, but hopefully it's at 154.
How was this particular weight cut? Was it a very difficult one, or did you feel at ease with the weight cut?
I mean, it's always difficult, but, you know, like I said, I don't make any excuses. The better man won.
Since that loss, Spence has completely disappeared from the ring. No comeback fights, no easy opponents, just silence. In boxing, 3 years of inactivity is extremely dangerous because timing, reflexes, and sharp instincts naturally fade. A split-second delay can be the difference between slipping a punch and getting hit clean. Most fighters after such a long break choose a safer opponent to rebuild confidence and shake off rust. But Spence is doing the opposite by stepping straight into a tough fight against an aggressive pressure fighter who constantly moves forward. This bold decision has sparked debate about whether his team is making the right call and if they are truly prioritizing his long-term health and career.
Do know most fighters walk away until they have to come back, and usually it's the finance situation that brings them back. Certainly hope that doesn't end up being the case with Errol. If I had to bet on it right now, I would bet that Errol makes a comeback. I would bet that Errol makes a comeback because what we saw from him in his last match against Terence Crawford, that was just how that fight went. But at the end of the day, and we can tell by how he kept getting up, that ain't who he is. And he ain't going out like that. So that being said, I guess I said a whole lot. Yeah, Errol comes back. If Errol don't come back, then that, to me, that means he's good with where he's at. And like I always say, if you good, I'm good. I'm certainly not gonna force the kid back. Not, you're not a Hall of Famer. You're not this. You're not that. Anything like that. I let people be where they are. You show me any different, and I respect you for whatever it is that you choose to show me. But Errol,
Timothy Bradley, a Hall of Famer, isn't analyzing the fight. He's warning Spence to stop. As someone who knows the sport's dangers, Bradley believes Spence has already taken enough punishment and risks too much by continuing.
I've been waiting on it. When it's going to get announced, when it's going to happen. Maybe we have something now within, a few months. I'm not sure. But anyways, I'm going to let y'all know right now. Errol Spence don't need boxing. Errol Spence is only coming back maybe just for pride. That's it. Errol don't want to go out like this. But if you really dig deep and you really realize that Errol Spence was one of the best welterweights of this generation.
Bradley's concern is based on the idea of cumulative damage. It's not just the loss to Crawford, but everything Spence has endured over the years. The horrific car crash, detached retina surgery, brutal sparring sessions, and then the knockout defeat. When all that trauma adds up, it becomes alarming. Bradley's message is simple and serious. Don't come back unless you truly need the money, because you've already done enough and your health matters more. When a respected warrior like Bradley urges retirement, it suggests he believes Spence may not just be worn down, but potentially at the end of what his body can safely handle.
Years, champion, held it down, fought the best guys out there. 6 years, held the strap. That's what I'm talking about. That's legacy stuff right there. Hall of Famer, future Hall of Famer at that. Made a lot of money, especially when he fought against Crawford. He don't need boxing. He don't need to come back. There's nothing else that Errol Spence needs to prove. He in there, like they say. He in there. He in the Hall of Fame. And he's paid. You feel me? So, the rest, it's just gravy on top. However, his health, that's what he should think about. This is my opinion. You don't need boxing, Errol. You good. Spend time with your kids and your family, bro. Dang, you ain't got nothing else to prove, dog. For real. You made your mark.
Beyond the health risks, Pauli Malignaggi highlights a serious stylistic danger. He argues that if you were designing the worst possible opponent for a rusty fighter struggling with timing, it would look a lot like Tim Tszyu. Spence's entire style depends on sharp timing, precise distance control, and gradually breaking opponents down. But timing is the first skill to fade after 3 years of inactivity. Against an aggressive, pressure-heavy fighter like Tszyu, even a slight delay in reactions could turn into clean, damaging shots landing early and often, making the matchup especially risky.
Tszyu fought Errol Spence Jr. Who would win? Who do you think would win? Because
it's too many variables with Spence. The one positive variable is he says at a 154 he's going to be stronger. He doesn't have to struggle to make the weight, and he was, it was pretty known news around the business that Spence struggled a lot to make 147. So the one positive, the argument for Spence is at 154 he's more fresh. He's going to be able to breathe a little bit into his body, and it'll be a better version of Errol Spence. The opposing figure is basically what everybody's been saying. Is his eye okay? Has he been the same since the surgery? Has he been the same since that bad car accident? Is he going to be the same after getting beaten from pillar to post by Terence Crawford, which also, though, that's the kind of loss that, fighters don't really recover from once they're past 30 years old, those kind of beatings change you if they happen when you're older. There's a lot of question marks. Personally, right now, if you put a gun to my head and say, okay, what do I think?
Malignaggi further explained that Tszyu is like a pressure cooker. He doesn't allow opponents time to settle in or shake off ring rust. From the opening bell, he pushes forward, throwing heavy, thudding shots that demand instant reactions. If Spence is even slightly slower after 3 years away, he'll be absorbing clean punches right away, with no chance for a slow feeling-out phase. Malik Nagy believes Tszyu's team understands this perfectly. They are not taking the fight because they think Spence is still at his peak, but because they see vulnerability. In their eyes, inactivity, accumulated damage, and potential decline make Spence a legend who may be there to be exploited rather than feared.
No, Errol hasn't been busy. He's sort of needs a comeback fight himself. Tim needs a little bit of a comeback himself. He just had a small win over Velasquez. He's going to keep trying to work his way back in. So you look at the fight on paper and you think, this is a sellable, marketable fight. And, between two guys who need to work their way back in. And, the winner is two big names. So the winner obviously creates a real drawing power to himself again and works their way probably into a...
The difference between them is striking. While Spence has been inactive for 3 years, Tim Tszyu has stayed active and battle-tested. Even though Tszyu went through a brutal war with Sebastian Fundora and was stopped by Bakram Murtazaliev, he has remained in competition, consistently training, fighting, and sharpening his timing under real fight pressure. He hasn't stepped away from the grind. He's been absorbing punches, adjusting, and staying mentally locked in. That activity could be a major advantage against someone like Spence, who is returning after a long and potentially damaging layoff.